Hey, what's going on, everybody? If you've been building a good, solid mixed voice technique, but whenever you go to sing a song, you feel like you switch back to your old bad habits that you've always done, then I have a couple exercises today I want to show you that are going to help you start translating that good, solid technique that you're building to words of a song. The first thing we're going to do is straw phonation. Straw phonation is a fantastic exercise. I've been using it with myself and with my clients for the past 6 or 7 years, and it's just fantastic. It's amazing at putting the vocal cords in a good mixed configuration so that you're not too chesty, but you're not too heady. Okay, so here's a pattern we're going to use. So just do a fifth and we're going to do an octave. All right, so it's going to sound like this. The first thing I'll mention with straw phonation is you sing through the straw. You don't blow through it. You sing through it. Now, when we're doing these particular intervals, I'm paying attention to the buzz migration, or that kind of buzziness I feel inside of my vocal tract. I feel it migrate on these intervals. So on this first pitch here, right, it feels really, really buzzy, almost like a coarse kind of buzz. Now, when I do the fifth, the buzz migrates somewhat. It becomes a little bit smoother, a little bit less coarse, a little more refined. Now, when I do the octave, it jumps up even higher in my head than the fifth did, and it becomes much less coarse, much more smooth and refined. Now, these things, like here's the thing. There are no magic vocal exercises, even straws. So if you don't have these targets that you're going for when you're doing your vocal exercises, sometimes these things can actually do more harm than good. You have to know what you're looking for, what you're going for in these different parts of the range. Another thing that can be really useful, aside from the buzz migration, just kind of feeling that vertically up and down here, this way, is an affective migration or an affective journey. So on the bottom, there's many things you can do, but lately I've been liking this like, yuck, kind of affect. Like you said, that's gross, you know. And as you go up higher, it becomes like, that's gross, to like, you're a little concerned, like, someone get me out of here, this is really gross, to gross but concerned, get me out of here. Especially on the top one. On that top one, that sound really goes up into my head. What I'm paying attention to and what I'm noticing and what I'm going for when I'm doing straw phonation is I want to feel that buzz migration. I want to feel it a little more coarse, and of course it depends where you are in the pitch range, because the higher you go, the less coarse it should become, even if that's the note you're starting on. But generally speaking, the lower you are, the more coarse and buzzy that buzz is going to feel and sound. And in the middle of the range, it becomes more smooth and refined, and as you go higher in your range, it becomes even smaller and narrower up in your head while still being very smooth and refined. Something you're going to have to play around with. If you've never done any of these things, you've never paid attention to this stuff, you might be like, what the heck are you talking about? But when you start practicing, when you start looking for these things, you'll start to get the idea. Remember, in singing, what you focus on is what you feel. So your brain, it can really kind of play tricks on you. But if you give it the right things to focus on, the right mental stimulations, you can really start feeling things that lead to more efficient voice use. The next step is now we're going to add some words to this same pattern. So the words that we're going to say are, may I go. May I go. And so we're going to be looking for a lot of the same things that we found with the straw. May I go, may I go. So on that top one, I'm definitely in mix. The interesting thing though, that you can really start paying attention to is even on the fifth, there's a mini lift that I feel. And I think that that mini lift before the super high notes, and I'm talking around like B flat B, C, middle C area, that's a really important area to get right so that the notes above it are still really easy and efficient. May I go. I should mention another thing that I want to think about when you're singing the lyrics is I want that buzz and I want that sound to perceptually feel like it's a lot of it is above my palate. The roof, the palate is your hard palate and your soft palate. The roof of your mouth. I want that buzz to feel like it's at and above the roof of my mouth. May, and not may straight out the mouth like that, okay? May I go, may I go, I go. May I go, 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 may I go up. Okay, so I mean, you can take this all the way up. May I go, may I go, may I go, may I go. So I'm way up there now in a super high mix, and that buzz has become very smooth, almost to a very refined, and the sound feels way up in my head, and it doesn't feel directly out of my mouth anymore. You know, these things, like even years ago, I used to think, well, that's just subjective perception. That's what I feel. But we could say the same thing about colors. When you see the color red, when you see yellow, when you see blue, us humans, we tend to see these colors as red, blue, yellow. I mean, we don't get them confused. We're like, no, that's green. Or, you know, typically we see colors the same. And I'm convinced that, I mean, singing is purely subjective perception. And I think that we can actually perceive a lot of these sensations similarly. Maybe not the exact same, because there's so many things to focus on. But if you start training your brain to focus on specific things, then I believe we can start sensating similar things as well. But it's also the way that you memorize your technique. If you don't sensate and memorize what it is you're sensating, you will never recall time after time the same thing. Maybe some days you'll get lucky, maybe some days you won't. It's very possible some of you, when you're doing these, you know, may I go, you're doing kind of like a type of thing like this, or may I go, which it could be cool to do for, you know, stylistic stuff. May I go. That's cool, but what if you want to get it? Whoa, middle, whoa, whoa, whoa. What if you want to do that? Like, what if you want to be in that place where you're not belting, where you're not straining, you don't feel like you're over pressurizing, you know, and if when you're doing this, if you're breaking, if you're flipping, it's okay. But that may mean you haven't developed the foundation yet, the foundation of a mixed voice. And there's no magic secret to this other than following a plan, a systematic plan that either a good teacher has got you on. If you're looking for a do-it-yourself course, I made one for you called Mixed Voice Masterclass. It's my life's work thus far on how to develop and build an awesome and amazing usable mixed voice. If you want to check that out, I have a link down below. Some of you know you need to make some changes. Some of you know you've been neglecting some of these things. Some of you have been saying, I should, I could, but I won't. And that is a recipe for disaster. What I would encourage you to change your mantra to is I should, I could, I will. And I want to quote Mr. Jim Rohn, "No longer will I let neglect stack up on me so that I will have the sorry scenario 6 years from now, giving some excuse instead of celebrating my progress." Hey, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. 6 years from now surely will arrive. Where are you going to be? How are you going to be singing? Can you see it? Can you imagine that? Actually, can you get in touch with your future self 6 years from now? If you've never thought about that, you should start. You should try it out. Start imagining the person, the artist, the singer that you want to be. Get really clear on it. Don't leave this stuff up to chance. Life is too serious to leave it up to chance. If you don't plan your own life, someone else will. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. I hope that you liked this video today. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe to my channel, join the family, and you'll be notified when I release more videos just like this one. Until next time.